It was just another normal morning in West Laco, Texas. The sun was already beating down on the quiet streets as 15-year-old Juan Mendoza walked to school. He had his backpack slung over his shoulder, probably thinking about his classes, or maybe what he'd do after school. It was a day like any other, until Juan noticed something terrifying just ahead. An SUV was parked erratically on the side of the road. Inside, a woman was slumped over the steering wheel, unconscious, but that wasn't the scariest part. The vehicle was on fire. Flames were starting to lick up from the engine compartment, and thick, black smoke was pouring out. Juan's heart pounded in his chest. Most people would freeze, or maybe just pull out their phone to record. But Juan wasn't most people. He didn't hesitate. He dropped his backpack and sprinted towards the burning SUV. He yanked on the driver's side door, but it was locked. Panic could have set in, but his mind was racing, looking for a solution. He saw the passenger side door was slightly ajar. Without a second thought, he scrambled inside the smoke-filled cabin. The heat was intense, and the smoke made it almost impossible to breathe. Juan could barely see the woman, but he knew he had to get her out. He unbuckled her seatbelt and started to pull. She was unresponsive, a dead weight. Adrenaline surged through him. He wrapped his arms around her and heaved, pulling with every ounce of strength a 15-year-old could muster. He dragged her out of the passenger door just as the flames began to engulf the entire front of the car. He pulled her a safe distance away onto the grass, just moments before the vehicle was completely swallowed by fire. Other people had started to gather, calling 911. But it was Juan who had acted. He stood there, catching his breath, smoke stinging his eyes, looking at the woman he had just saved from an almost certain death. When the firefighters and paramedics arrived, they were stunned. They saw the charred remains of the SUV, and heard the story of the brave teenager who ran toward the danger when everyone else stood back. The woman was rushed to the hospital, suffering from smoke inhalation but alive, all thanks to Juan. Later, when asked why he did it, Juan's answer was simple. He said, "I just felt like I had to do something." He didn't think of himself as a hero. He just saw someone in trouble and knew he couldn't just walk by. The West Laco Fire Department and the local school district didn't see it that way. They publicly honored him, calling him a true hero for his selfless and courageous actions. Juan Mendoza's story is a powerful reminder that heroes aren't just in movies. They're ordinary people, like a 15-year-old kid on his way to school, who choose to do extraordinary things in a moment of crisis. His bravery saved a life and inspired an entire community. What an incredible young man. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing true stories. See you next time. Have you ever faced a moment that tested everything you are? For Mike, a quiet man who usually kept to himself, that moment came on a lonely stretch of highway. Driving home, his day was just like any other, until he saw it. Up ahead, a plume of dark smoke billowed into the clear blue sky. As he got closer, his heart sank. A car had crashed violently, flipped onto its side on the roadside. A mangled wreck. Smoke was pouring out from under the hood, a terrifying sign that things could get much worse very quickly. Inside, he could just make out the figures of an elderly couple, trapped and helpless. For a split second, Mike froze. Fear is a powerful thing. The smoke, the twisted metal, the unknown dangers. Every instinct screamed at him to keep driving, to call for help from a safe distance. Who would blame him? It was the sensible thing to do. But then, he looked again at the faces inside the car, etched with panic and desperation. In that instant, something shifted inside him. This wasn't just a scene on the news. This was real. These were people, and they needed help, right now. He knew he couldn't just be a bystander. He had to act. Pulling his own car over with screeching tires, Mike didn't even bother to turn off the engine. He grabbed the small fire extinguisher he kept in his trunk. Something he bought on a whim years ago and never thought he'd use. His hands were shaking, his heart pounding in his ears like a drum. He sprinted towards the wreck, the heat from the engine bay hitting him in a wave. The driver's side door was jammed shut, crumpled like a piece of paper. He had to find another way in. He raced around to the passenger side. The door was also stuck, but the window was shattered. "Are you okay?" he yelled, his voice hoarse. The elderly man inside, his face pale, just nodded weakly, pointing to his wife who seemed to be fading in and out of consciousness. The smell of gasoline was getting stronger, mixing with the acrid smoke. Time was running out. Mike knew he had to get them out before the worst happened. He put his shoulder to the door and pushed with every ounce of strength he had. It groaned, but didn't budge. He tried again, adrenaline surging through him. Finally, with a deafening screech of metal, the door gave way just enough for him to squeeze it open. Working carefully, he first unbuckled the woman. She was groaning softly. He gently eased her out of the wreckage, her body limp in his arms, and carried her a safe distance away, laying her down carefully on the grass. He then rushed back for her husband. The man was more alert, but was pinned by the steering wheel. Mike had to wrench the damaged dashboard back just a few inches to free his legs. It was agonizing work, the sharp metal tearing at his hands, but he didn't stop. Finally, he pulled the man free. Just as he dragged him clear of the vehicle, a small flicker of flame erupted from the engine. Moments later, the entire car was engulfed in a fireball. They had made it out with not a second to spare. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mike stood there, catching his breath, watching the paramedics tend to the couple. He was just an ordinary guy on his way home, but in that critical moment, he chose to run towards danger, not away from it. This story isn't just about a dramatic rescue. It's a powerful reminder that heroes aren't born. They are made in the moments we choose courage over fear. We all have that potential within us. What would you have done? Think about it. Thanks for watching. And if this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more. Ever wonder what separates an ordinary person from a hero? Sometimes, it's just a single moment. A split-second decision when everyone else freezes. Today, we're talking about Juan, a man whose ordinary day turned into an extraordinary story of courage. Picture this. A quiet suburban street, the afternoon sun casting long shadows. Kids are riding bikes, neighbors are watering their lawns. It's a kind of peaceful scene you see every day. Suddenly, a screech of tires shatters the calm. A car, driverless, starts rolling backward down a steep hill, picking up speed with every foot. Inside, strapped into a car seat, is a terrified toddler. Panique erupts. People scream, they point, they freeze, unsure of what to do. The car is now a runaway missile, heading straight for a busy intersection. Most people would be paralyzed by fear, and honestly, who could blame them? The situation seemed hopeless, but not Juan. He was walking his dog, saw the whole thing unfold, and in that critical moment, something inside him just clicked. He didn't hesitate, didn't weigh the risks. He just acted. He handed his dog's leash to a stunned bystander and broke into a dead sprint. His heart was pounding, adrenaline surging through his veins. The car was moving faster now, its path erratic. Juan wasn't a professional athlete or a stuntman. He was just a regular guy, a software developer, but he ran like his life depended on it, because another life did. He was closing the distance, his focus locked on the driver's side door. The car swerved, nearly clipping a parked van. Juan had to adjust his path, his lungs burning, his legs screaming. But he didn't slow down. He knew he had one shot, just one chance, to stop this. He finally caught up to the car, his hand reaching for the door handle. It was locked. For a split second, despair might have set in for anyone else, but not for Juan. He remembered a story he'd once heard about how to break a car window in an emergency. He ripped off his belt, wrapped a heavy buckle end around his fist, and with all his might, slammed it against the glass. The first hit just spiderwebbed it. He hit it again, harder this time. The glass shattered, exploding inwards. Ignoring the sharp edges, Juan reached inside, fumbling to unlock the door. He yanked it open, the car still careening downhill. He had to throw his body partway into the moving vehicle, his feet dragging on the asphalt. He lunged for the emergency brake, his fingers just brushing against the lever. He grabbed it and pulled with every ounce of strength he had left. The tires shrieked in protest. The car shuddered violently and finally, just feet from the bustling intersection, it lurched to a halt. Silence. Then, the sound of a child crying, followed by a collective gasp from the crowd that had gathered. Juan, scraped and bruised, collapsed against the side of the car, breathing heavily. Ed done Italiano. He had stared down an impossible situation and won. He wasn't looking for praise. He was just relieved a child was safe. That day, Juan showed everyone on that quiet street what true heroism looks like. It's not about being fearless. It's about acting in spite of your fear. What do you think you would have done in that situation? Let me know in the comments below. Stories like Juan's remind us of the incredible potential for bravery that lies within us all. Thanks for watching, and if you were inspired by this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time. In the blink of an eye, life can change. One moment, you're driving down the road, music playing, lost in thought. The next, you're a hero. This is the story of Juan Martinez, a regular guy who found himself in an extraordinary situation. He wasn't a firefighter, a paramedic, or a police officer. He was just a man on his way home from work who saw something terrible and decided to act. What he did next will restore your faith in humanity. It was just after 5 in the evening, with the sun starting to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Juan was cruising along the interstate, his mind on dinner and relaxing with his family. Suddenly, he saw it. A car ahead of him swerved erratically, clipped the guardrail, and flipped over, skidding to a halt in a crumpled heap on the shoulder. Without a second thought, Juan pulled his own car over, his heart pounding in his chest. Smoke was already starting to billow from the overturned vehicle's engine. He sprinted towards the wreck, his mind racing. He could hear faint cries for help from inside. The driver's side was crushed, the door jammed shut. He ran to the passenger side, yanking at the handle. It was stuck. Adrenaline surged through him. He saw a rock on the side of the road, grabbed it, and with all his strength, smashed the side window. Glass shattered, and he carefully cleared the jagged edges away. Inside, he saw an elderly couple, both dazed and bleeding, trapped by their seatbelts. The smell of gasoline was getting stronger. With careful but fast moves, he reached in and unbuckled the passenger first, a woman with terror in her eyes. He gently guided her through the broken window. Then, he climbed halfway into the car to reach her husband, struggling with the jammed buckle before finally getting it free. He pulled them out of the smoking car, one by one, until both were safe. He led them a safe distance away just as the first flames began to lick up from under the hood. Sirens wailed in the distance, but for those few critical moments, Juan was their only hope. Within minutes, the car was engulfed in flames. Firefighters and paramedics arrived, taking over the scene. The couple, shaken but miraculously alive with only minor injuries, couldn't stop thanking their savior. Juan, however, deflected the praise. "A simple I just did what I hope anyone would do." He stayed until he knew they were in good hands, then quietly got back in his car and drove away, leaving the flashing lights behind. He didn't want a medal or a news story. He just wanted to get home to his family. Juan's story is a powerful reminder that heroes aren't just in movies. They are ordinary people who, when faced with a crisis, choose courage over fear. They are our neighbors, our friends, and sometimes complete strangers on the highway. It's that split-second decision to stop, to help, to act, that truly defines heroism. What would you have done in that situation? It's something to think about. Thanks for watching, and if this story inspired you, please give it a like and subscribe for more incredible true stories. See you next time. Firefighters arrived just minutes later, their sirens wailing through the neighborhood. But by then, the worst was over. You see, thanks to Juan, a major tragedy had been completely averted. He stood to the side, catching his breath, the adrenaline slowly leaving his body. The professionals took over, their practiced movements, a stark contrast to the raw, instinctual bravery we had just witnessed. They efficiently extinguished the remaining flames and secured the area. But the real hero of the day was already there. Juan's incredible courage, his split-second decision to act, had saved lives. In that moment of chaos, he didn't hesitate. He ran towards the danger when everyone else was running away. It's a powerful reminder that heroes aren't just in movies. They walk among us, everyday people capable of extraordinary things when it matters most. His actions that day became a local legend, a testament to the power of one person's bravery. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories. Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel where we share stories that inspire. Today, we have a truly incredible tale about a young man named Juan, and how one split-second decision changed everything. Picture this: a quiet afternoon at a local community pool. Kids are splashing. Parents are relaxing. It's a perfect summer day. Juan, just a teenager, is there with his friends, probably thinking about homework or what movie to watch later. He's just like any of us, but what happened next was anything but ordinary. Suddenly, a cry for help cuts through the air. A little girl had slipped into the deep end, her arms flailing, struggling to stay afloat. Panic set in around the pool. People were shouting, but for a moment, everyone seemed frozen. Everyone except Juan. Without a second thought, he kicked off his shoes and dived straight into the water. It wasn't about being a trained lifeguard. It was pure instinct, pure courage. He swam with all his might, his heart pounding in his chest. The few seconds it took to reach her must have felt like an eternity. He reached the little girl, wrapped his arm around her securely, and started the difficult swim back to the edge. The water felt heavy. His lungs were burning, but he didn't give up. He was her only hope. He finally made it to the side of the pool, lifting the sputtering and crying child into the waiting arms of her terrified parents. Medics arrived quickly, and thankfully, the little girl was going to be okay. In the chaos that followed, Juan, soaked and exhausted, simply blended back into the crowd. He didn't seek praise or attention. For him, it was just about doing the right thing, about helping someone who desperately needed it. He wasn't looking for a reward. The little girl's safety was his reward, but an act of such bravery doesn't stay hidden for long. Word spread like wildfire through the community. People started calling him the poolside hero. His school, his neighborhood. Everyone was talking about the quiet teenager who became a savior. This wasn't just a story of a rescue. It was a story about the hero lurking inside an everyday person. It showed everyone that you don't need a cape or superpowers to make a monumental difference in someone else's life. Juan's bravery didn't go unnoticed. The city decided to honor him, to celebrate his selfless act. Imagine him, standing on stage at a school assembly, a little nervous but smiling, as the flashes from news cameras go off. He was holding a certificate, a piece of paper that represented so much more. It represented courage, compassion, and the incredible potential that lies within each of us. They may have called him a hero, a beacon of hope for the city. Juan's story became a powerful reminder, proving to all of us that even ordinary teens can do truly extraordinary things. His single act of courage inspired an entire community, showing that the power to change the world for the better is closer than we think. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more inspiring content. See you next time.